this exciting episode, we have a boxer who doesn't appear to be able to box, despite his trainer insisting he's a future star. The boxer would also love it if he were a hit with the ladies, but we don't get much confirmation of that either. Well, 0 for 2, it's Perry Mason, Season 6, Episode 3, The Case of the Playboy Pugilist. Welcome to the Perry Pod. I'm your humble host, Jonathan Searcy. My purpose, pretty simple: provide an audio companion to every episode of television's greatest legal drama, Perry Mason. Each episode, we give you a summary of the plot. We even compare plots with the Earl Stanley Gardner if the episode was an adaptation. We give you a little trivia, reveal the episode's theme, and revel in a Perry proverb, that's a pearl of wisdom from the man himself, before we head to the water cooler, where just like Perry, Della, and Paul, we can discuss the ins and outs of our fave legal cruise adventures. But first, say it with me, to the law library! Each time we visit the law library, we investigate a legal conundrum from the episode in order to find precedents for future cases. In this visit, we're talking about the Fifth Amendment. Here's the setup. Perry's got hotel magnate Keith Lombard cornered. Perry's established that Lombard owned a hotel in New York, that the hotel burned down, and that Lombard collected $250,000 in insurance. Now, Perry asks the big one. Didn't the murdered man, Todd Richards, force you to sell your new hotel at his price because he knew about this malfeasance? Lombard's response:
On advice of counsel, I refuse to answer on the grounds it may incriminate me.
So, the Fifth Amendment. Can a witness who's not the defendant invoke it in the middle of a hearing? Short answer, yes. Any witness on the stand can invoke the Fifth Amendment. That is, the desire not to incriminate himself or herself if answering a question might expose them to criminal liability. You can't plead the Fifth because the answer is embarrassing or financially inconvenient. You can plead it because the answer might put you in handcuffs. Lombard's got plenty of reasons. If he's admitting he had his hands dirty in arson, insurance fraud, and murder as an accessory. Now, did he do it right? Mostly. The legal standard requires you invoke the privilege on a question-by-question basis. But a witness invoking the Fifth in front of a judge at a preliminary hearing can't be used as evidence of anything. Yes, it can convict you in the court of public opinion, but the judge isn't supposed to draw an adverse inference from it. In fact, the judge could have compelled Lombard to answer if the prosecution had offered Lombard immunity, but Berger's not thinking that far ahead. Now, let's get to the full plot of this episode. The Case of the Playboy Pugilist. A bit of trivia. This is the first episode to credit Fred Steiner for composing the all-time classic Perry Mason theme music. Better late than never, Fred. We open our episode in a gym. Two men spar while a trainer barks orders. That trainer is Jimmy West, who's trying to make a champ out of Davy Carroll. Right now, Davy's kissing canvas because he saw an attractive woman in a tiara and didn't keep his chin down.
Did you hear what I said? Chin down. Don't you know the difference, up from down? I might have known. A female. Who let a female in here? Come on, get out of there.
Sports writer George Hale watches the whole thing. Apparently this guy writes a daily boxing column. In any case, his assessment of Davy's prospects, not encouraging.
This is the red-hot newcomer I've heard so much about. Jimmy, your boy's got a glass jaw.
But Hale's not here for Davy. He's here because Todd Richards wants to buy the fighter. To which Jimmy retorts,
Not my Davy, he don't. Unless it's over my dead body.
Cut to a restaurant. At the Lombard Hotel, Todd wines and dines Davy with help from his secretary Joe Sands, who's also that smiling tiara'd woman ringside. Keith Lombard himself stops in, and Todd rolls out the charm. But Lombard's mail has a 5-card poker hand in it. No note, just cards. And that can spook a man.
I really don't have time for that drink just now, Richards. Sorry.
Jimmy storms into Perry's office. He wants a contract for his boy Davy that nobody, especially Todd Richards, can break. Perry drafts one. The only problem? Davy's already signed with Richards?
It won't make Mr. Richards, so will it?
Richards? What's he got to do with it?
I already signed a contract for Richards.
You what?
Well, he said it was
He
okay.
said.
Jimmy nearly explodes before Richards swoops in with an offer. 50% and all expenses paid. Partners! Perry signs off.
Hold it, Jimmy, hold it. He's offering you 50% and all expenses. Apparently, Mr. Richards wants you as a partner.
Huh? I don't believe it. I'm getting lucky.
Out at the Richards Country Training Camp, Davy's supposed to be getting in shape. Instead, he's only making googly eyes at all the lovely ladies, including Lori Richards, the wife of Todd, who's lounging poolside and calling her husband's fighters toys.
Oh, yes. Todd's new toy.
Toy?
My husband collects toys. Fighters. Baby dolls. Baby dolls who walk and talk. And take the bottle.
Meanwhile, Todd barely visits his wife while he's on the phone to Secretary Joe. She seems more interested in Todd than he is in her.
Now, that's not so long, is it?
Todd, at least you can phone more often. I miss you. Todd?
Richards throws a press party for Davy. It's a disaster. Davy gets drunk. Jimmy gets mad. Lombard looks like he swallowed a lemon. Hale cracks wise about the whole thing. And then Richards slips away to whisper sweet nothings into somebody's ear on the phone.
I had to call. It's all over, darling. Went just the way I figured. I'll be with you in a few hours.
After the party, Jimmy confronts Richards. The kid's becoming a gigolo, not a fighter. The contract, the partnership, Davy, it's all a joke, Richard says. So Jimmy takes a swing and Richard knocks him out cold. The boxing trainer can't even win his own fight. Later, Davy stumbles into the apartment drunk, looking for Jimmy. And when Jimmy leaves, Davy chases after and in the process finds himself flat on his face. A not unfamiliar position for our hapless titular boxer. The cause of his stumble, the body of Todd Richards. Next morning, Jimmy lands in Perry's office where he hears this.
The body of Todd Richards was not discovered until 5 a.m. It was found near a guest cottage occupied by the missing trainer, Jimmy West.
Perry stashes Jimmy with Paul, then heads to the crime scene where Sergeant Landro is already asking pointed questions. Lori and Davy spent the night in the village jail after a roadhouse brawl. The bereaved widow and the future champ together behind bars?
What happened last night?
The party got dull, so we all went down that joint to dance. I must have gotten a fight. Look at this. Richards paid almost $300 for this suit.
Davy, what do you know about Richards' death?
Nothing. Nothing at all. How many times I gotta say it to people, huh?
Perry starts pulling threads. George Hale broke the story that Richards bought the Lombard Hotel for pennies on the dollar. Joe Sands is drawing $200 a week and living in an apartment on the Strip. Lombard is barricaded behind lawyers. And Davy, well, Perry asks Hale for a professional assessment of Davy as a fighter.
Well, let's put it this way. If Davy Carroll, at his present stage of development, was fighting my grandmother, I'd have to put my bankroll on the old lady. And she's been dead for 10 years.
In court, the pieces start coming together for Perry. The key is Keith Lombard. He owned the Union Hotel in New York City. It burned down and he collected $250 million in insurance. There was a fighter named Buddy Chance who died in that fire. Jimmy trained Buddy for an associated outfit. Lori was working in the hotel and actually reported the fire. Richards used all of it, the fire, the dead boxer, Lori, Jimmy's unknowing signature on shipping receipts repurposed as threatening notes to blackmail Lombard into selling him the hotel for nothing. And why'd he do it? Kay Mackenzie.
How long had you known the decedent, Miss Mackenzie?
3 months. We wanted to marry, but Todd kept saying, let's wait. He didn't want to leave his wife until he completed a business thing, buying that hotel.
And when he completed the hotel deal, he called you?
Yes. He was very happy. He said he'd see me within just a few hours.
After unearthing this bombshell, Perry explains the key to the case is a leaking gun.
Now, as the court may be aware, an old gun of this type has a slight tendency to leak around the breech, to backfire. Therefore, anyone firing it would probably receive a scattering of minute powder particles on the hand. These would soon disappear, of course, or be washed off. But if the murderer happened to be wearing a glove...
But does Perry have the glove? Perry's bluff gets Joe Sands to stand up and take it from there.
He said that if I helped him, he'd marry me. And then I caught him talking to that woman, telling her that he loved her.
We close the episode with an honest-to-goodness boxing match. Davy's fighting again, but not for long, because when a woman in the stands yells encouragement, Davy looks and gets floored. What about that glove, Perry?
Search me. We had to buy it in the store. I figured if Richards could run a bluff, why couldn't I?
Jimmy insists he'll make a real fighter out of Davy yet. What do you say, Della?
I'm sure you will.
She catches Jimmy winking at her. Some lessons don't stick. Now, let's get trivial, shall we? Each episode in our trivia section, I give you 3 takeaways. If Paul's a subject worth investigating more, Adela is a deep dive on an actor or actress who guest starred in the episode. Finally, a Perry is something we learn about our intrepid hero. Our Paul for this episode involves the moment Perry tells Della to get him a book on guns.
Before I start my defense, we'll have to check again with the telephone company. I'll also want a book on guns.
That's it. That's the instruction. Not a title, not an author, just a book on guns. And from that one book, Perry extracts the detail that wins the case. Our prompt. What book do you think Della grabbed? Tell us what you find, Pauls. Our Della for this episode could be none other than Gary Lockwood, a.k.a. Davy Carroll, the Playboy pugilist himself.
Hey, you know something, Jimmy? I didn't keep my chin down.
Here's 10 about Gary. 1. Born John Gary Urasek, February 21st, 1937, Van Nuys, California, to a family of partial Polish descent. His father ran Bunny Love Carrots, eventually a massive agricultural company, and worked young Gary ragged on a cattle ranch in the San Joaquin Valley between LA and Bakersfield. 2. Urasek played football for 1 year for legendary UCLA coach Red Sanders. In 1956, he described himself, quote, as one of those guys who was an athlete who was into the arts. 3. Broke into showbiz as a stuntman and stand-in for Anthony Perkins. That's right, Norman Bates himself. His first screen credit was an uncredited bit in Warlock in 1959. That same year, he made his first Perry Mason appearance, also uncredited, as a police officer in The Case of the Romantic Rogue. 4. Appeared alongside Elvis Presley in Wild in the Country, 1961. Had a supporting role in Splendor in the Grass that same year. Then landed a recurring spot on the Hawaiian adventure series Follow the Sun before coming back for a second Elvis picture. It happened at the World's Fair. 5. Cast by Gene Roddenberry in Roddenberry's first television series, The Lieutenant, an NBC drama about peacetime Marines. Robert Vaughn played his commanding officer. The show lasted only 1 season, killed by the fact that it was scheduled opposite a show with Jackie Gleason. As Vaughn later recalled, nobody's career suffered. Roddenberry went on to create Star Trek. Vaughn became the man from U.N.C.L.E. And Lockwood, well, he was just getting started. 6. Lockwood was cast by Roddenberry again as helmsman Gary Mitchell in the second Star Trek pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, opposite Sally Kellerman. One critic noted Lockwood delivered Roddenberry's lines, quote, with a straight bat, solid, but perhaps too solemn. Number 7. He was then cast by Stanley Kubrick as astronaut Dr. Frank Poole in 2001: A Space Odyssey, 1968. He's the man who plays chess with Hal. He loses more than the game. It remains his most iconic role. That same year, he starred opposite Elkie Summer in They Came to Rob Las Vegas, and the following year, he played the lead in Model Shop, the only American film by French New Wave director Jacques Demy. 8. Worked steadily on TV from the 60s through the early 2000s, guest spots on Gunsmoke, Barnaby Jones, Heart to Heart, dozens more, often played villains. Just 2 years ago, 2024, at the age of 87, he reprised his role from Star Trek as Gary Mitchell in a short film called 765874 Unification, using digital technology to simulate his 1966 appearance. Number 9, married actress Stephanie Powers in 1966, she of Heart to Heart and The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. fame. They divorced in 1972. In 1982, Lockwood married actress and businesswoman Denise DuBarry, with whom he has a daughter, Samantha. Number 10, hey, Gary's still with us, 89 years young. The baby carrot heir who wanted girls and money instead got Kubrick, Roddenberry, Elvis, and a permanent spot in sci-fi history. Our Perry for this episode involves our man's side hustle as a contract lawyer. Jimmy West walks into Perry's office with a handwritten contract. Perry takes one look at it, smiles that demure Perry smile, and says he thinks he can do a little better.
Who wrote this?
I did.
Well, don't worry, Mr. West. I believe we can draw up a contract that nobody can break.
You think? Perry does it all. Way to go, Perry! Our episode's theme is Playboy. Sure, Davy Carroll chases every skirt within 100 yards of him, but Davy's not a playboy, he's a puppy. Smiles at women, kisses the canvas, gets drunk on someone else's liquor, calls it all a good time. But he's playing at being a playboy the same way he's playing at being a boxer. The real playboy in this episode is Todd Richards. Our murder victim, Richards doesn't chase women, they chase him. What are Joe Sands and Kay McKenzie thinking? Your guess is as good as mine. The Playboy pugilist isn't the guy in the ring. In this episode, it's the guy writing the checks. And in the end, he discovers he's run out of people willing to be played. Now, let's hear a Perry proverb. In this Perry proverb, Perry and Paul have just bailed Davy out of a night in the village jail. That occasions this exchange.
Is this the much-touted future champ?
Who, me?
Champ or chump, I'm not quite sure at this point.
People have either been blowing smoke at Davy, like Jimmy, or hating on him, like George Hale. Perry's the first one to admit it could be one or the other all at once. Take this as a provocation to good works, Davy, you poor dope. Now it's time to grab a swig from the water cooler.
There is one thing I don't understand.
Go on, Paul.
Each episode, The Water Cooler, we give you deleted scenes, bits from the episode that didn't make the episode's final cut. Here are 3 from the case of the Playboy pugilist. Number 1, Davy tries to impress Lori by shadowboxing poolside and promptly falls into the pool. Lori rates the splash a 6 out of 10. Number 2, George Hale writes Davy's obituary preemptively before his next fight. Quote, pugilist Davy Carroll died today. The result of excessive eye contact, close quote. Smirk, unfiltered cigarette, light, inhale. Number 3, Lombard opens another envelope with a typed address on the front. This time, it's just a big Hallmark card with a burning building on the front. You'll always be my flame, it says inside. Lombard falls out on the floor. Our Paul prop from last time involved finding the real-life analogs for the Gage Youth Foundation from the case of the Capricious Corpse. Dad Drake wrote in with his finds. Quote, the Boys Republic, based in Chino Hills, CA. History founded in 1908. A private nonprofit Its facilities, a residential ranch. Its target clientele, at-risk and delinquent boys in SoCal. Its business model, self-sustaining, work programs, property holdings, and endowment. Another foundation in SoCal was Rancho Los Amigos, which focused on medical rehab services for disabled youth. Its offerings were not as broad as Gage's. Finally, there was the Pacific Coast Boys Lodge, a residential treatment center for troubled boys, which started operating in the 1920s and was active into the 1960s. Dad Drake closes with this. There was no evidence that any of the above had a 10 and under all-star baseball team, or that they had to endure a blowhard alumnus who came back to sermonize about clean milk and fresh clothes, or was it clean clothes and fresh milk? Hope was present, however. Close quote. Hilarious, Dad Drake. Thank you. Aunt Mai, PI, was on the case too. She found that, quote, Boys Republic had its own companion program called Girls Republic, which served girls facing similar behavioral, emotional, and educational challenges. Girls Republic operated as a short-term residential home in Monrovia, CA, as part of the Boys Republic family of programs in SoCal. It has a capacity of 8 girls. It provides the same broad array of services as Boys Republic's main campus program. And my PI closed this off by saying, space for 8 is not a big space, close quote. True enough, Aunt My PI. Thanks, Pauls. Now it's time for some listener letter. As she is wont, trivia maven Nancy wrote in with some great tidbits. Regarding the case of the bogus book, she writes, quote, Hi, just wanted to comment on what Adam West said about Raymond and Natalie Wood. They did date. The rumor is that they cared about each other very much. They were in a 1956 movie together called A Cry in the Night. His character kidnaps her. Interesting that she would talk about Raymond on her date with Adam. Apparently, Natalie's sister confirmed they were an item. Close quote. Great stuff. Then, regarding the case of the capricious corpse, she notes, quote, Evelyn Ward, who played the nurse in this episode, was the mother of David Cassidy, exclamation point, close quote. As always, great stuff, Nancy. The pod's unofficial legal counsel, Tom Wiltshire, sent in some more info about Manning and Granger. The book that Perry was looking for in the case of the bogus books. James Manning, Thomas Granger, John Scott published the Common Bench Reports in 7 volumes. They're a collection of legal cases argued and determined in the English Court of Common Pleas. During the period of 1845 to 1849, the reports provide insights into the legal practices and decisions made during that time and offer a window into the evolution of English common law, equity, and procedure. Common law is the body of law that grows out of court decisions that interpret and apply statutes in individual cases. It's often referred to as judge-made law. In that, such decisions can be cited as binding precedents on future cases. They are a valuable resource for legal history enthusiasts, early American and British jurisprudence scholars, and those studying the development of common law traditions. English common law is not binding on American courts. However, such decisions can be persuasive authority on contemporary court judges. Close quote. Thanks, Tom. Tom then closed his note with this, quote, I am delighted and entertained that the podcast has returned from its well-earned sabbatical. Looking forward to more, close quote. Me too. As always, I'd love to hear from you. Have a comment about the episode or the pod in general? Why don't you drop me a line at theperrypod@gmail.com. Next time, a good cop dies, a bad cop runs, and Perry has to decide whether proving his client's innocence means destroying a grieving mother's image of her heroic son. It's the case of the hateful hero. Join us, won't you? Until then, this is Jonathan Searcy saying, keep on walking that Park Avenue, mate!